Well, Warwick Lucas from Galileo Capital joins me now to look at some of the market developments. Good afternoon, Warwick. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
All right, so today is World No Tobacco Day, and I see government is determined to tighten tobacco laws that would see plain packaging on packets. Should the likes of BAT be worried about this?
Well, initially, no. When we saw the ban on advertising come through, the experience locally and globally was, well, it took a chunk out of their costs, and yet their revenue was relatively unchanged from that. I think we would probably expect to see a similar response in the case of the plain packaging. I think the bigger threat would be something like a ban on menthol, which has been waved around but never implemented on any international geography so far. Yeah. I think that would be more serious.
All right, so figures out today, credit extension. I mean, I think this was a bit of a big drop here. It's slowing to 7% from 8.7% the previous month. Again, more evidence that an already sluggish economy is slowing. Yeah,
I mean, that's quite a weak figure. If you stripped off inflation, you would see that per capita that's actually falling in real terms. So quite clearly, it's another pointer that consumers must be really struggling out there. And you can also see it coming through in that monetary data. M0 and M2, similar figures, and quite clearly that they must be pointing to an economy that's slowed quite hard.
And when we see this with the rand here, I mean, the rand has been holding steady around that 1580 mark. It's obviously waiting, investors waiting to see what happens with our trade figures out this afternoon. I mean, and we need them to be good.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, in terms of the response of our exporters to the rand, I mean, there has been some follow-through on the weaker rand in the last year, but it's not a clean follow-through. I think there'd been a bit of capacity damage in the last few years, so we didn't get a nice elastic response and a big export rebound. That's not happening so far.
We speak about the rand. I see famous brands releasing results yesterday. They did pretty well, but now planning to have this UK expansion, and the idea, they say, is to get some business done outside the denomination of a rand, of course. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it certainly makes sense. I mean, they are a predominantly South Africa earning company. Do have some big foreign markets. So the UK are a nice big market, and clearly their brand is getting some traction there. And it's one of those kind of services companies where you have a pretty set fixed overhead, and then everything else that you can put through there just drops to the bottom line. So where you have a big export market, it makes it a lot of sense to expand, even in a mature economy like the UK.
Yeah, and another share that caught my eye this morning was that of PPC. I mean, their share now sitting at a 13-year low. Yep. I would think that there's just still no resolve from that boardroom chaos we've seen months ago.
Well, that certainly was quite untidy and quite messy. And I mean, the growth plan they put out to expand into the rest of continental Africa does make a certain amount of sense. But the big problem that they're facing, as with all the cement manufacturers, there's a big glut of cement at the moment that's not going to clear itself anytime soon. Once you put in that capacity, it takes quite a long time for the economy to expand and demand for expand and actually take off that glut. So I think we're stuck with an oversupply position for a few years there.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, the economy needs to grow. If the economy grows, buildings come up, and as long as they don't see the sort of figures, I guess all cement manufacturers are in the same boat.
They're suffering. They're not getting the big projects that they need anymore. I mean, the Madupis and so on are gone. Yes, you've got localized water supply. Those are quite encouraging, but it's not enough to really fill those trucks.
Before I let you go, Warwick, just a general thought on the JSE. I mean, look, the figures were just on intraday trade, down at the moment, but we're really on a positive stretch here for 6 days in a row, and I believe that was last seen in 2014. JSE not doing badly at the moment.
Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, it was a toughish month with commodities giving back some ground. I think commodities are actually going to remain quite important to the JSE in the near term.
Oh, we're going to leave it there from Galileo Capital. Warwick Lucas, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Pleasure.